Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Questbound Reader. Guys, today we're going to talk about a new book. It is a relatively short book. It was about 500-ish pages. This is the Combat Codes. Now, this is a very heavily inspired martial arts school academia setting where we have different hierarchies of society. Think of like a caste system, and you have people designated just for fighting. Now, these people are called the Grievers, and the Griever are biologically different from the Daimo, which are like the higher echelon of society and humanity at this point in the world. So, this book focuses around two main characters. We have Mighty Murray, his name is Murray Pearson, and we have Seago. Seago is a lacklight, is what they call him, a person that doesn't have, that is not of pure blood or pure descendant from powerful families and whatnot. And Murray is a retired knight who's one of the greatest knights, and now he's a scout for the Citadel who's scouting talent. Now, the whole premise of this world is that disputes between nations and kingdoms and high political powers are settled by fighting between the Griever. So they'll train Griever and they will give all their resources to put them through these schools, and then they'll have like a one-on-one fight, and that'll settle the dispute. So Murray sees something in Seago that's different from most of the other kids. Now, there's this thing called the combat codes, which are a code of honor. And think of like the old Knights Templar who are like chivalrous, and they had these like higher morals, and very good quotes in this book, also, by the way. But think of it like that, and then you'll see what the combat code is actually about. Um, Ironically, they named the code the same thing as the book. So yeah, I'm talking about the actual physical codes that the Griever have been passed down since the start of time. Some people believe. So Murray notices that Siegel is fighting with a lot of honor and does not just mercilessly kill people or beat them, but rather he adheres to the codes and uses them in his everyday life, which I think is admirable. Um, you have a lot of, like I said, good quotes, quotes regarding life, a lot of quotes regarding how one should act. For example, there's a quote off the top of my head. It was something like, any step forward that you make is a step that you're not standing still. So you're moving somewhere. There's another one that, if you interpret it, it says, when in a situation where you are not going to be in control, right? When you are at at the mercy of the elements, at the mercy of the world, make a choice, take a stand, and at least in that small chance that you make, in that small decision, you are in control. And they adhered this to, or they were symbolizing this by the rain, right? If you try to run from house to house trying to avoid the rain, you're going to get wet anyway, so might as well choose to be wet and just walk through life. That way, you're in control of being wet, and not the world is in control. Which is much more deeply philosophical than I thought, for a book that has nothing to do with philosophy. So I do think this book has probably some of the best mentorship quotes or sayings from most of the books that I've read. So Seago, I don't want to get into too many spoilers because I want you guys to enjoy this. Seago comes from a background that nobody really knows where he is until later on in the book. And his master, who we call the farmer, um, was a very old and wise and powerful fighter. And he just tried to instill that as much of that knowledge into Seago as possible. Now, um, I think one thing I wanted to mention that I thought was really cool is in this book, all the people that make it into the Lyceum, which is the most prestigious school for fighting that Ezo has. Ezo is the region in the world that they're fighting for. So like their kingdom. The Lyceum is, they give everybody a flux tattoo. Flux tattoos are tattoos that the I forget the name. The lights, it's like these little spectrals of light give you once you go into the school. And Seagulls ends up being like a little kind of like a baby dragon. Later on, it evolves, which to a one of a kind flux tattoo that nobody else has, which is really cool because tattoos mean something, right? Especially when they're given by the lights from the different materials that are. All right, I'm gonna have to spoil some things. All right, so there's these things called not necessarily rubellium, but different kind of alloys that give off lights of different colors, and each of these lights makes you feel a certain way. Now, all the Griever fight within circles of different alloys. So there's like red light, which makes you more aggressive or susceptible to what the crowd wants you to do. There's yellow light, which makes you more mellow and makes you think you're doing other things that you really are. There's the blue lights, which are more calm. There's the onyx, the black lights, which are very chaotic and hectic, and time passes at a different rate. There's time compression and all that stuff within the black lights, and it just makes you very different in who you are. And then Siegel has always had this little wisp of light around him and showing him, kind of guiding him to where he needs to go. And it's made evident later on what that symbolizes and what that wisp actually is. So I think if I have to give this book a rating, I felt, in my personal opinion, the first half of the book was not as good as the second half of the book. It pretty much at the 50% mark is where Siegel gets into the Lyceum, maybe a little bit less, but and that's where his main story begins. And I think they could have definitely made this faster, made this shorter. Um, so if I had to rate this out of five, I think this is a solid 4 out of 5. I would like to say, I don't know. I know that there's two other books in the. I believe this is a trilogy, and I think this is a fair 4 out of 5 stars. The fantastical elements are definitely seen more in the different types of alloys and how they influence a person. Aside from that, there's no like magic or like I don't know, like ability skills where they can do super cool things. Or it's pretty much a bunch of kids, a bunch of adults too, that are just trying to fight for their nation, and they do that with their bare fists. Now, technology is much more advanced, so they have recovery stimulants and stuff like that to help them get through fights. A lot of people die in these fights, not necessarily in this book, but they do mention that in the book. And I think the technology would be, I mean, that would be fantastic if we had that now here, where they put you like in stasis and your body's able to recover fully most of the time. Anyway, um, I do think this is a 4 out of 5. I think you guys will enjoy it. I think this is a very solid book, and I do count it as progression fantasy. If I had to grade it based off of the past video, I would probably put this somewhere in probably the higher B, lower A tier. Um, just out of pure enjoyment. I will continue with the series. I did enjoy it. I think I'll read the next one and go from there, make my decision off of that one. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys stay tuned for the next one. And as always, I will see you guys later. Have a good one.